Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Rosen Sports Monday as our never-ending summer continues here in the Twin Cities. I like it. I don't care what anyone says. If it's 80, that's fine. You know what? You know what's coming. Let's enjoy every single day and put a smile on our face, even though the Vikings let us down yesterday morning, you could say. Mark Rosen here, again, sponsored by Lexus of Wayzata, Lexus of Maplewood. Thanks to our friend Charlie Swanson and our newest sponsor, Stretch Lab. We'll hear from them in a little bit, but my special guest today, the one and only Paul Meat Sauce Lambert. Let's have a standing. Okay, all right, that's enough.
Wow, two people. Nobody clapped.
Nobody clapped. He's making this.
Oh, sweet.
Look
wow,
at that.
They went nuts. I didn't think they would know that I was even here. That was awesome.
It's like being at one of our state fair shows
You
out
are
there
correct,
in the gallery
sir.
when it's 90 degrees and people are boiling on the bleachers there. Saucy, good to see you. Thanks for coming in. We're going to shoot the bleep around. I guess I could say the word, but, I'm still kind of guarded about that. After all these years in front of a microphone, even though you're technically allowed to swear in front of a microphone, I'm so used to never having to do that for fear of losing my job. You guys, does it happen to you on the air, on the morning show at all, where you have ever sworn? Not I'm talking about the podcast, but we used to do the podcast where you could just let it go.
Yeah, I don't think, I'm sure I have. I think I have maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
And it's just something in like
natural
rhythm.
I
naturally accidentally said the F word or something, but I haven't I don't think I've ever sworn. Okay. I don't know if I have. Maybe once. I don't think, but it happens way more than
Well, it's an interesting,
especially in this day and age, and everybody does a podcast where everybody just swears.
Right.
You get some of these people on, we had Bill Guerin on Friday. He swore 3 times.
Did he really?
Yeah. He was outstanding. Yeah. But he swore
he's got a sense of humor.
Yeah, he's great. He gets
all that. But it's interesting in our daily lives, whether you miss a turn or somebody beeps at you or whatever, the F word flies out of our mouth on a regular basis when we're conversing with each other.
Oh, yeah.
It often does. I find it interesting how we are able to control ourselves in front of a microphone when you're in a natural sort of rhythm of conversation that you normally would just let it fly. So I think kudos to all of us for not swearing on the air and not losing our jobs.
Yeah, and I think the dump button works now, and I learned a long time ago that if it goes out on the air, you get in trouble. But I didn't know this, and a lot of people don't. I would never do it, but you have to get reported. Somebody has to report you to the FCC,
the swearing
and
part?
Send a clip of it.
Okay.
There's not
someone meaning anyone in the public?
Anybody.
Okay.
There's not they want you to think they're always listening, right?
Yeah, but they're not. Of course they're not. How many stations are there?
And what was it? Probably 35 years ago, George Carlin said the FCC was created because somebody in Mississippi heard something they didn't want on the radio, so they complained about it. A reverend did. And as Carlin says, there's 2 buttons. You can actually change the station. So you can thank that person for coming up, and the FCC's had its own run the last couple of weeks. But you have to send something in. The FCC isn't just hey, let's tune into the Power Trip for an hour, and if they swear, no, somebody has to report it. And then, because there's been a couple of times, there's a show in our building where one of the guys was down the line and he was saying, get us on the bleeping air. And he said the F word over and over again. It was on the air. Right. But somebody has to report it, is what I've been told.
We're just going to go subject to subject, and I'm playing word association. You just said the name, and I know how you feel about it, but how badly do we miss George Carlin in these days? In this world we live in? Yeah. I'm talking about everything.
Everything.
I've gone back, I know you have many times.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime I see one of his clips, and I'm a little bit older than you, but I remember George Carlin as the hippy-dippy weatherman. And that's when he was clean cut, wore coat and tie, and just kind of did his thing. Tonight's forecast dark.
Yeah,
he did that whole thing, and it was just
temperature at the airport is 82. Who actually lives at the airport?
Yeah, but he was so sharp, and then of course became even more critical and just a free flowing form of information, and just I don't know how he did it, but I go back and watch his clips. It boggles my mind how good he was and smart he was.
Well, it's amazing, too, how many of his clips, he said 30 years ago, are relevant. He talked in one of his bits, and his, this subject is is a weird subject, but he talked in one of his bits about you're worried about like weapons all everywhere. Wait till there's guns in church.
Yeah.
And there are.
Yeah.
Yesterday. He talks like 30 years ago.
Correct.
He was ahead of his time where he would say things and you're like, wow, that's relevant. Was that yesterday? No, that clip was from 1975. Like, he's incredible. He was ahead of his time, man.
And I know there are comics today that are razor sharp with a lot of things they say. And I know you like doing stand-up occasionally with our buddy, the Common Man.
Oh, yeah.
But it's hard to replace. He's irreplaceable.
Irreplaceable.
When you think about, I don't care, you take your Chris Rocks, anybody down the line, that's your favorite comedian. But his social commentary and everything else. Anyway.
Yeah, he was outstanding.
I'm trying to talk as long as I can before bringing up the goddamn Vikings. I'm sorry, I swore again.
Yeah, there you go. Now the FCC is going to report you, Rose.
No, they'll be fine. I was just, I've covered this team forever, and I've watched them all. But and they're 2-2. I understand that, but all of a sudden they have a slew of the injuries and. The guys they signed don't seem to be adjusting to what the Vikings want from them, and it just for a team that's 2-2, they sure seem like a hot mess right now.
Well, I think I think the biggest problem they have is the offensive line isn't good. Like they're so banged up, and like if you're going to be, and I don't know as we record this on Monday, I don't know what the Brian O'Neill bit is, but if
doesn't look good,
no, if he's out for the year, you're in trouble.
Yeah,
because
he's out for 6 weeks, you're in trouble.
Yeah, you got. In 6 days from today, you got Myles Garrett, who they're going to put on that side of the football.
Ouch!
It's just they tried so hard because we saw it at the last 2 games of the year. They were destroyed on the interior of their defensive line and on the interior of their offensive line. So they changed all of it. They brought in 3 new offensive linemen. Donovan Jackson, I think, is going to be really good. Yeah. He's hurt. Ryan Kelly.
He'll be back though. He had wrist surgery. It's supposed to
I think he'll be back
concussion.
after the bye.
He will be,
but. Ryan Kelly might be done. I mean, you get 2
His career
concussions.
might be done.
Right, he might be done. And then you've got a guy, in Will Fries who has to play with backups. So then he looks bad. And if Brian O'Neill's out for a long time, you're in big trouble.
This is where, and it's so early. And I'm the one who always says to Common in particular, pump the brakes. We're 4 games into it. Look at the Packers. They gave up 40 points to Dallas last night. We thought that team was headed in the Super Bowl. So a lot of things are ebb and flow. But right now, at first blush, the signings the Vikings had, I mean, they signed 2 kind of older defensive linemen that had great reputations with Hargrave and Allen. They got rid of Harrison Phillips in particular, who was a good run stopper. Pittsburgh ran right through them yesterday. Right through them. And then they lost their temper. And then it's just like wait, what? And Atlanta did the same thing.
Yeah.
Here at home, the Falcons, and then granted, Bijan Robinson's one of the best in the league. But, man, they've got the blueprint.
Yeah.
You don't have to. You can just go after the Vikings. Just go after them.
Yeah, it's weird, too, because, like, all we ever heard about is, like, how good of an offensive – like, KOC's a great coach. But why are we dropping – in a 5-7 step drop when that's not working? The offensive line can't hold up. I don't know, man. Like it, as you say, and you said, it's 4 games in, but it's got the feeling of like, if you don't get this offensive line solved, you're in big trouble. You don't know what's going on with the young quarterback.
Right.
It's
a lot
weird.
more questions that we had watching a training camp. And getting back to the Vikings defense, I mean, they desperately need Van Ginkel and Cashman to get back in there. Those guys, I think, are the straw that stirs the drink, as they say defensively. And Harrison Smith's played some, but he isn't. He's kind of ramping things up a little bit. But it was discouraging, and yet somehow, some way, the Steelers let them back in the game yesterday. And it could have been worse. They had fumble that the Vikings had.
Yeah,
returned for a touchdown. It was ruled. Was it Mason? It was out of bounds.
Unbelievable.
I couldn't believe that call.
Yeah, me either.
But on the quarterback situation, there's so much stuff to unwrap, and because they had such an easy time beating the Bengals, who beat themselves basically, turning the ball over 5 times, the touchdowns returned for. It wasn't like the Vikings offense had to do anything; they didn't really.
No.
But we haven't had one of those games yet, and and KOC's got this week in London to figure it out, especially with shorter rhythm passes, just doing some different things. Like I watched Dallas last night and Green Bay a little bit, and you got to have some quick movements because if this line, and it's not going to get better between now and next Sunday, you got to figure it out offensively.
I mean, you got to do exactly what the Cowboys did last night. You just run away from Micah Parsons. Wherever they line up Myles Garrett on Sunday, you go the other way.
Correct.
Because I don't care if you have even Brian O'Neill, who's an all-pro right tackle, he would have a tough time with Myles Garrett. If you're going to put a backup over there, oh boy.
Well, keep in mind, after this game, the Vikings have the bye, but then they play the Eagles at home,
who have won. I think they're 20-1 in their last 21 games.
They don't seem to get anybody hurt on that team.
No, they do not. They're out. That's an outstanding football team.
Then they have to go to Los Angeles to play the Chargers on a Thursday night.
Yeah,
right after that
will be tough. Yeah,
real tough. Then they go to Detroit after that.
Yeah,
so those are the next 3 games.
They've gotten their groove back. That Detroit team's
you kind of go, well, do we want to put J.J. McCarthy back into that slog? But you kind of have to. The kid, he needed to play the last 2 games in particular next week. He missed yesterday. That's fine. I just need to get JJ some reps out there. It's unfortunate that he's apparently not going to be ready to play on Sunday, because that would be a perfect game for him to play in against Cleveland, because just to get some reps in and some practice time, because he hasn't had a lot of it. And I'm not calling this year a complete wash yet, but it certainly has the makings of it at the moment because of all the things we're talking about.
The other issue that isn't going to be brought up till maybe week 6 or depending on how this season goes, they're like $60 million over the cap next year. So this was like a kind of nobody wants to bring it up, but this was like a one-shot bit, right?
Well,
like you've got a guy, you've got some high-end talent on this team that's old. So they're going to have to find something. But yeah, they put a lot of money into some, and Jonathan Allen and Hargrave have been decent.
Yeah,
they've been good, but the offensive line is not what they thought it would be, and the injuries don't help.
Well, especially since they haven't really played together, and that's the biggest problem. And again, they're not the only team that has injuries. I just don't remember. We were talking before we started our podcast today, having covered this team forever, long before there was even injury lists that were out. But during the Vikings' glory years, and even after that, and the next generation of Vikings, there were injuries, but nothing like we're seeing, not just with Minnesota, but around the league right now. I don't know if it's the turf. I don't know if it's just because they're not getting enough practice time in, and they're regulated how many reps they can take and everything else. But there's such a, if you play fantasy football, and I'm looking at Alex over here who kicked my butt last night for my first loss. But, I have Lamar Jackson. I have Malik Neighbors. Neighbors is out for the year.
He's out for the year.
Lamar pulled a hamstring yesterday. I don't know what
He'll be out for a couple of weeks.
Probably.
Yeah.
But this is every single week that these players, these top players are suffering, crippling injuries. And the league, every time we talk about, I know you love the NFL draft, but we go into a season and we look at, well, here's the team. Well, it's not like you're talking for the most part like about the Timberwolves or even the Wild or I don't want to say the Twins, because who knows what the hell they're doing. But it's like, well, these are the guys we're going to go with all year. When you look at, pick up your preseason magazines and go, wow, this looks like a pretty good lineup on paper. 3 weeks in, none of those guys are playing anymore.
Yeah.
Half of them are hurt.
Yeah, it's not good.
I mean, it's a league-wide problem, though. And I don't know, the commissioner speaks. He was in Dublin. I don't know if the people address it. They're trying to deal with the concussion issue. Sometimes they have these goofy looking, those guardian caps, which I don't think. I mean, Lieber I've talked to, I don't think they work with a crap. I don't really think they matter. Maybe psychologically,
yeah.
I don't think there's any scientific proof that it prevents concussions.
Well, if they do prevent concussions, Ryan Kelly should wear one.
Well,
right,
man, I don't know. You're right. I will say this. I'll add this. I've mentioned this a couple different times because I've been around a lot of the older guys of late, and I every time I see a Ryan Kelly and he's going through his 3rd, 4th concussion, I think of so many players that are really paying the price or paid the ultimate price with CTE and everything that's gone on. So, I mean, I'm sure he's going to get a lot of advice from his own medical people, but you got to wonder with the number of concussions he's had in a short period of time. They always talk about the repetitive ones. Is it even worth it to continue his career at this point?
Good.
He's got the money, he's got a family, he needs to have some real serious conversation if this is happening on a regular basis. Anyway, let's move on, and before we take our break, let's talk a little bit about Paul Meat Sauce Lambert. And I know you get asked a lot. Was it our friend Mike Morris who gave you the meat sauce nickname?
Yep.
And it stuck, which is
it was.
I mean,
20 years ago.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I was getting food for the guys during the Vikings games, and I remember they would all order, and then I would have to, or they would all tell me what they wanted.
Right.
I would have to go get it from Majors, which used to be off 394, which is now like a
sure.
bank or something. And I would always tell myself, I'm like, I have to be able to do this properly, because if I can't order food, pick it up and bring it in, nobody will want me around. If I screw up that. And I remember one of the guys, they were all sitting in the studio, and one of the guys, I would get it all out on the table outside of the studio and I would bring it in. And I remember one of the guys ordered a sandwich, and then on the top of it, somebody wrote in black marker, meat sauce.
Really?
Yep. And I handed it to him, and I'm like, here's your sandwich. Here's your meat sauce. And Star kind of looked up and he like laughed. And in my head, I'm like, well, if I can get Star to laugh, I can get Star to like me.
Right.
So he'd be like, the guy was like, I don't want that. So a couple minutes later, I'd walk back in. I'm like, hey, does anybody need anything? They'd all be like, what? And then I'd be like, do you guys want any more meat sauce? And then like a week or two later, I was passing Star in the hallway to board up probably PA's show.
Sure.
And he looks at me and goes, "Your meat sauce." And I go, okay.
That was it.
That was it. And I've been meat sauce for 20 years.
Does it surprise you that it stuck? Because I think of Corey Cove, he was sludge.
Yeah. I think why, and this is just a guess of mine, but I think the reason is like, people don't want to be like, I don't know. I just think it fits. And I think it's like a nickname that it's the kind of character that I've become.
Yeah.
And I think I would never run away from it. Like, and Corey, rightfully so, moved on from sludge. Corey's not
agree.
sludge.
No.
Corey's the host of the Power Trip Morning Show.
Right.
And I mean this, I love Corey. Corey's important. Not that I'm not, but like meat sauce works. Like people are like, you gotta, even like there were people years ago that were like, you should probably move away from that. I'm like, why? That's the reason I'm standing here. That's the reason I've gotten where I've gotten, is because it's a cool
It's a badge
nickname.
of honor.
Yeah, it's a great nickname.
Yeah,
so
it is a great nickname.
Yeah, and so
it's not derogatory. It's just kind of a
no. It's great.
Yeah.
I'm going to get called by the FCC. My dad calls me Sauce. He has me in his phone as Sauce. He calls me that. So like,
it's weird to call you Paul.
Yeah,
actually.
correct. Mostly everybody except for my mom.
You're my phone.
Yeah, my mom and my wife are probably the only two people who call me Paul.
By the way,
Everybody
we
else,
had a lovely dinner with
I
Sue
heard about that.
and your
Yeah,
father,
yeah.
Jeff, just a short time ago.
Yeah,
My
they're
wife
great.
loves your mother.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
My mom says very nice things about your wife. Yeah. Yeah. My dad called me that morning. He's like, I'm going out to dinner with Rosie. I'm like, I don't care. Like, why do you have to tell me that?
Well, it's a great bit.
Yeah, it's a great bit. Yeah.
Jeff and Mark Madness.
Yeah,
We've had a lot of fun.
bit.
Listen, I have so much more to talk to you about with the popularity, of course, of the Power Trip, and more importantly, what fatherhood is really like for you. Let's take a break. Let's hear from our friends at Lexus Wayzata at Maplewood, and let's start with my friends at Stretch Lab. Yeah, I talked about this just a short time ago. I had my introductory first stretch, as they say, when I was visiting my nephew out in New Jersey. It was a 50-minute session, and he told me he had signed up at Eden Prairie and many locations around the Twin Cities. So when I came back in town, I immediately called them, signed up at the same place, and I've been hooked ever since. As I mentioned, there are locations throughout the Twin Cities. I keep my Tuesday morning schedule with Jason to get my 50-minute stretch in. It's kind of a meditation system, a situation as much as anything else. Jason stretches out my legs, my hips, my back, my neck, my traps, all of it. Take a lot of deep breaths. And I feel like a new man every time. I mean, my nephew's in his 20s. I said, I'm a little bit older, but it doesn't matter. Stretching is so important in our daily routine, no matter how old you are. And having an expert do the work and explain it all is the only way to go. So my advice, give Stretch Lab a chance to improve your overall health. Check out a location near you. Hey, Rosie here for Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. If you're in the market for a new luxury vehicle, look no further than my good friend Charlie Swanson at Lexus. Whether you're on the west or the east side of the Twin Cities, they have got you covered with two great locations, Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. Check out the all-new Lexus TX, a spacious SUV with 3 rows of seating and plenty of room for all your gear. Head over to lexusofwayzata.com or lexusofmaplewood.com for details and to find your next ride today.
Hey everyone, John Krasinski here to celebrate with you that football season is finally upon us. Join me on the Viking Update Show for all the latest action, insights, and stories from the field. Jim Suin and I will have everything you need on our podcast on the Talk North Podcast Network.
And welcome back to Rosen Sports Monday with Paul Meat Sauce Lambert, as he just described, where he got that wonderful nickname that has stuck. I was fortunate enough to be a big part of the morning Power Trip morning show for a number of years. I've now just stuck with Common 3 days a week, which is the bane of my existence. I'm just kidding.
I don't know how you do it.
It's amazing.
Let's
rip Rosie.
He waits for you to come in.
I know.
He waits. You can tell. There will be times, and I'll see moments in my everyday life where I'm like, Common is texting Rosie right now about this.
God.
And he's doing it. And as you've pointed out to him, he doesn't care. He just wants to get his bit about how Aaron Rodgers should be the quarterback. Everything. Yeah.
I got a text on Saturday. The Gophers kicked off and Rutgers was kicking their butt. And so he texted me right away. What do you think of the Greek quarterback now?
I knew that. Yeah.
Well, you do that too.
I knew he would text.
Oh, of course he would.
Yeah.
And then I got back at him a little bit later, but I just laugh it off. Once in a while, I get pissed off at him. I mean, you have to because he's just irritating. But the Power Trip has really been. I saw it from its evolution. I mean, I remember being in the morning. Speaking of Common, I think I was in the morning show. I was with Bob Yates in the morning, going way back at the old station. KFEN was over on Xerxes across 494. But it's taken a lot of forms since I've been there too, at the morning show, and a lot of different personalities. But even at WCCO television, I will preface it, Paul, by saying, we had great chemistry there, and we'd have consultants come in and say, "God, what's your secret? How do you do this? I'll tell other stations how to get the same sort of chemistry." And remember, Don Shelby used to say, "Well, we like each other." It's a little different TV and radio because TV, we have good-natured ribbing. I mean, obviously, Amelia used to rip on me and whatever, but it'd be kind of fun. It wasn't as long as radio because you don't have that kind of luxury of time. But it's taken, the Power Trip took on a lot of different forms, a lot of different people before it obviously found its niche. You've been a part of that for a long time. I certainly was a part of it for a long time. And where it's like, you're chasing Tom Bernard's ratings, you're chasing all that, and you can't catch them. But how did this thing all evolve from when you started to where you guys sit today?
Well, I think what has happened with the Power Trip morning show and Hockey, and Corey will always say this, is there was a point where that was just, as you know, he's one of I love Tom Bernard. You know him very well.
I sure do.
It was started
with him.
Right. But at when that show first started, it was Star and Hockey, and then Corey started like maybe a couple months later. Mm-hmm. And at that point, everybody was just doing morning radio because there was money in it and it was something to do. Not that they weren't doing good radio, but you know what I mean? Because at the other end of the hallway was the best morning show in the country. Like it was almost like having the Yankees and then like the Royals. Like it didn't matter. Like I'm not saying Hawk and Star have done an incredible job, and they did do an incredible job. And I think that, as Hawk always says, like when it first started, they were allowed to fail. Like they would do everything.
That's a big thing from the bosses. Right.
They were allowed to fail. And then like they realized the talent they had in Corey. And it's just Hawk and Corey, Star, he left in 2012.
God, I can't believe it's that long.
Yeah. And
I remember that day.
There was a moment where like, yeah, that sucked. I love Superstar.
It was hard.
I love Superstar. He was always nice. I love Superstar.
Yeah, we all did.
And they were brought in, I don't know when it was, and they were told it's going to be the two of you going forward. And whether my name was brought up or not is irrelevant. But they said, no, we want to do a big morning show, a big room, the Howard Stern, Bernard-like bit.
Right.
And I've been lucky enough that I was, and people say, I was at the right place at the right time. And as I always say, Hockey and Corey do the group project, and I'm lucky enough that they put my name on it. Like they've just done such a good job of like everybody stays in their lane. They, as they always say, you were brought in because you had clout, you knew what you were talking about, and we didn't, and it helped build it. And Corey basically is the quarterback of the bit, and we go for, and Hawk all of it. It's just, it works well because everyone on the show currently stays in their own lane. Lieber is the football expert. Parrish is the hockey expert. Marnie is Marnie's the mom that we don't have on the show. Marnie's the WNBA, NBA expert that we don't have. But everybody stays in their lane. That's why it works. And it works because like we all get along. And it works because it's just the conversation that normal people would be having every day. And Hockey and Corey have done such an outstanding job of keeping that thing afloat. And it's amazing the reach that show has. It's amazing how popular that show is. And I'm blessed every day to be a part of it. And as Ernie Johnson said a while back when he did that interview that went viral about his kiddo, I get to do that job, and I'm very lucky to do it.
Well, and I feel the same way of being part of this empire at the KFAN at iHeart. All the shows. I mean, it's I've been in a lot of different radio shows. I started with Bernard in 1986 with Tom, the morning show, the KQ morning show, of course, and then I was forced to go to WCCO radio, which I was forced at the same time. I had what a golden opportunity to work with Steve Cannon and Sid and all those people. So I got to work with the best of the best. Then I went, eventually Doug Westerman called me and went over and got hired by a KFAN. And it was a struggle, but they stuck with it. And it's hard in this day and age, Sauce, with media. And I know the television side of it. It's not pretty.
No.
I mean, people are getting cut, their hours, the salaries, the responsibilities. People don't get their news the way they used to get it. I'm holding up my telephone right now. Yeah. By the time the 10 o'clock news comes on TV, people have already know what's going on. They've been reading about it, seeing it, hearing it all day long. They don't have to watch the news anymore. Radio's a little different. So you get up the first thing in the morning, and you guys, it's interesting because I know I'm not there when you guys get there, obviously, and I'm not there anymore at all. But the preparation, I always think, how much prep goes into it? People are like, well, you guys must be rehearsing. Really don't rehearse a whole heck of a lot. Well, there are certain things you have what bits are going to be in what days, but you don't really okay, we're going to talk about this then, and then we're going to talk about that.
It's what I think hockey is like the most well-read person I've ever met. He reads everything.
He does. He's
on top of everything. And Corey is, as smart as he is, he's the same. And I think we learned a long time ago that and they started this well before me, but they would always talk about hockey, and Corey would say, Hawk, Corey, and Star would all sit in a room together like this and do the show an hour before. And then they were like, well, wait a minute. Why are we fake laughing on the air? Mm-hmm. It's just your natural reaction. And I just think that those guys are just so good at what they do. But I think you can prep so much, but also the off the cuff stuff and on a Vikings Monday, I know we're going to talk about the Vikings.
Right.
There's a bunch of other notes that I put down on my phone that I know we're going to have. I look at a couple of news websites. I look at a couple other things. I have a general knowledge of it, but the show is basically us waiting for somebody to screw up, and then we just hammer on them.
And you seem to handle things pretty damn well, because I know even when I listen, they're still hammering me.
Oh yeah, we hammered you today.
I'm sure you did. I haven't been there in months. I want to.
You got ripped today.
Just to clarify, there were things that happened at the iHeart. There's a lot of business decisions that are made, but I'm thrilled to still be part of with Common. I feel very much a part of what's going on, but beyond that, my absence is felt only because I keep hearing about it all the time. Even when I'm not listening, I keep hearing, oh yeah, you hear Corey was ripping on you this morning. I went, well, of course he was.
Yeah, of course he was.
But that's okay. It's all done in love, I hope. But it's interesting how you never really stay away. But you have a really good sense of humor about it, because a lot of it is directed at you. And you have to know your role.
Yeah.
And what the object is from the listener standpoint. You don't want to make it uncomfortable. I've always said, you don't want to make it uncomfortable. Like me and Common, we go at it once in a while. I don't want to make it uncomfortable for someone driving down 494 going, God, these guys are they're ripping on each other. And I don't want to be a part of it. It's like two people arguing in a family or something. I'm going to leave the room.
Yeah. I think people ask me that all the time, especially good friends of mine are like, how can you put up with Corey? And it's not off the air. If it were off the if I was treated off the air, how I'm treated on the air, it would be a whole different bit. It's not personal. And as Corey has said, maybe 1 out of 99 times something is said where it's like, Jesus,
back off.
Right. And that happens. That happens in any work thing.
there's nothing wrong with getting mad at each other once in a while, legitimately.
And I just think that, I'm lucky enough to do it. They 100% would find somebody else to do it. And I will gladly take the flack that I do because I love that. I love that job. And it's, I could be out doing a real job. I don't want to do that.
Sometimes do you still pinch yourself to realize the position you're in and what you've gone through to get to this point? And I always say it's not just a matter of luck. It's hard work too, but you put yourself in a position to succeed. And now you're taking full advantage of it.
Yeah. I worked overnights at Jack FM and I was interning at the Fan. I knew a couple people that knew John Lassman, who was he was the program director at Jack FM, and they got me a job. I worked midnight to 6 a.m. Friday into Saturday morning, and then midnight to 6 a.m. Saturday into Sunday morning. And I remember I took over for a guy. He was leaving and I was coming in, and he was like, "Hey, do you work at the Fan?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I go, "I intern there. I'm not really working there." And of course, that's where I learned that everybody in radio talks to everybody. So on Monday, Lassman called me and he's like, "Paul, do you intern at the Fan?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he basically was like, "Well, you can't work at Burger King and McDonald's."
Really?
I'm like, okay. He's like, I'm like, "Can you give me like an hour to come up with what I want to do?" And he goes, "No, I need an answer now." And I said to him, I go, "I'm going to continue interning at the Fan." And he goes, "You're going to leave a paid job?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm going to go with the Fan." How
old were you at the time?
Probably 25.
Okay.
And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to," and he's like, "Okay." 2 weeks later, Jack FM went to full, like nobody worked there anymore. It was all done by the computer.
Yeah.
So I dodged that bullet. But yeah, I mean, not that like there were like, I interned at the Fan for a couple of years and like I worked overnights there. And that's how I stumbled across Hockey one morning, was coming in or he was walking in as I was leaving. And my uncle is Chris Hockey's accountant. And I mentioned that to Hawk.
Yeah. And now mine.
Yeah, now mine, and he's mine, and all that. And he was like, Hawk was like, "Wait, that's your uncle?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "He's been doing my taxes for like 20 years.
Right.
And so we just started to talk. And then one day Hawk was like, "Hey, you work overnights. Come up with a bunch of weird stories you find and come sit with us on the morning show." And this is when it was Corey, Hockey, and Star. And I was like, all right. And there were days where like I would come up with all these weird stories and then they would forget about it, funny enough. And then I would do it for like 30 seconds and it'd be terrible. And then I'd leave and I go, "Well, that was stupid." And then one day Hockey was like, "Hey, you should come in like every day. The show's funnier when you're there." And I'm like, "Oh my God." And then I was lucky enough. And then I started coming in like 2 days a week. And then Hawk was like, "Come in every day. It's way better. It's funnier." Right. And then, unfortunately, Star got let go, and then they brought me in full-time like 2013. So I've been a part of it since like 05, 06.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
Well, as you know, there are some big personalities in that station, and every show is so different. I mean, you go from you guys to the quirky, eccentric, bizarre Paul Allen, who does more, again, more straight sports stuff.
Oh, yeah.
As weird as he is. We love you, Paul. But that's good. You get your fill, and he does his stuff and with Nordo. Then Common Man speaks for itself. No preparation, just come in after his golf game. But he's damn good. I mean, I love great. Common. It's amazing what he does by himself, but you could lock him in a room and he could probably talk for 8 hours straight without taking a breath. But he's damn good at what he does. Yeah. And of course, the big ticket, as they call him, Dan Barrero, comes in at 3:00 and with his array of guests and commentary and observations. So it's you don't know, but it's one of those things that you envision it kind of status quo, and given the media landscape and everything else, that it's still a bright future, that radio in particular. And obviously podcasting has gotten into it the way I listen to the station many times just on my phone, streaming, that it can sustain itself for a long time.
I mean, I remember in 2004, I was at a seminar. This gal that I was dating at the time was working in a couple of TV stations, and I was invited to their like Christmas party. It wasn't really a seminar now that I say it. I don't think I've ever been invited to a seminar, but, and I remember the guy walked up on stage and he held up an iPod and he's like, "This will be the end of radio."
Wow.
That was 20 years ago.
Right.
It's just, if there's no more loyal listener in the world than somebody from Minnesota. We like things the way they are, and it's helped. I mean, the fan is a juggernaut because of the listeners.
Right.
What goes on the air is great, but the listeners are outstanding.
They
They listen. It's just it's a weird cult, and that's what makes it work.
And I think in this day and age of again, when people are not, committing to even other relationships, that their relationship is with their telephone or their device, that having the familiar voices every day is so unusual, and radio gives you that opportunity. When you get in the car, you're driving somewhere, whether your show is on, as I say, PA, Common, Barrero, whatever it might be, you know these people. You almost feel like they're your neighbors, and that you want to be a part of that conversation. It helps a lot of people. Yeah. It does, and I know I've been able to get into some heavy stuff in the course when Denise was going through her stuff. I opened up a vein and talked a lot about it, but I know I helped a lot of people, and it gave me a lot of solace because of people's response to me. So there are opportunities as well to be a little serious if you have to be. So radio is amazing how it connects with people.
Yeah, it's outstanding. Yeah. And as hockey always says, they've thought about the death of radio for 30 years, right? And it's a wonderful concept, and I'm lucky to be a part of it. And it just takes over in different formats.
As you said, your life, you were working at those jobs, and you were very single.
Yes.
You ever imagine where you are today with a beautiful wife and a beautiful, wonderful, handsome young son? No. Little Leo. I mean, I've seen it happen in front of my eyes, and I couldn't be happier for you.
Yeah, there was a weird time I went through in my life, and I was like, God, this sucks. But then it was all worth it, because that little boy is one of the best things that's ever happened to me.
It's the best. Well, your wife, but
he's just out. I went home to him today, and I don't know. I don't even know how to explain. I mean,
I know.
Yeah. The day he was born, as cliche as this is, I was told I have to stand behind my wife. She's like, you're not. And I'm like, okay, fine.
Just do it. You don't want to go. You don't want to go there.
And so when he came out and his foot, the first thing I saw was his foot.
Really?
And I was like, it was the most surreal moment of my life. I love everything about him. He's the best thing that's ever happened to me. He's the cutest little boy on the planet. He'll be 9 months tomorrow.
Oh my goodness.
Which is out. Yeah. And fatherhood is the best thing I've ever done in my life. I love it. I love every second of it. Him and his mom are going to see his grandma, my mother-in-law, for a week. She lives in Chattanooga.
Oh, that's
now.
A big trip.
So I don't know what I'm going to do without him for a week, because I've only been without. We went to San Diego for a couple of nights, my wife and I. But I don't know he's the best. I love everything about him, and there was a point in my life where I never thought I would be a dad, and I'm glad I am. And being a dad is my favorite thing that I do.
Well, and you're going to find out, and it goes in a hurry, because my little boy, I remember the day he was born, is turning 40.
Yeah.
This December. Little Nicky Rosen is coming to town to celebrate his 40th birthday, and I'm going, where in the hell did the time go?
Right.
I know you get told that. I know your dad tells you that. Your mom tells you that, to appreciate all these moments, whether when he starts crawling, when he starts walking, when he starts yammering at you, when he throws his food at you, whatever it is. These are individual moments that you need to hang on to, because it goes fast. But it's wonderful. And man, what are you going to do? He's gone.
Well, I'm going to play a little golf.
Okay, you got the weather for it.
Yeah, the weather's going to be great. Yeah, I don't know. And I think it'll be like everything. I was saying it this morning. I'm going to probably take myself out to dinner on Friday night.
I just did that the other night because Karn was in Dublin with the Vikings. I went, that was kind of nice. I just took a deep breath and had dinner by myself. And
I think I'll do that. But I think
fun.
by Saturday morning, I'm going to be like, well, now what do I do?
Yeah.
Right. So, you can only watch so much football, but it'll be fun. But I'll miss them every second they're gone.
Well, it's great to have you in here. Man, I'll tell you, it's been a blast. And Sauce, you know how I feel about your family and your dad's one of my best friends. I know that they moved away, and I'm happy for them. And but he's still working, and he's one of my inspirations, because he's a little bit older than me, and he's still going at it. We talk about it a lot, about the R word, retirement. People ask me all the time, how's retirement going? And I go, well, I start laughing, and I kind of take offense to it, going, well, I'm not really retired. I'm doing this podcast. I'm working with Common 3 days a week, which is a lot of heavy lifting. and I still do my Vikings pregame show, and that's plenty. I get home at night, and I don't know the whole thing with sleep with you guys. I had to get up the other morning to do my pregame show for Fox, and my alarm went off at 5:15, and I'm thinking, holy crap, this is when you guys are going on the air. I mean, what is your sleep pattern like? You get to bed at what time normally?
Well, I used to stay up and watch every football game.
Right.
I do if it's Vikings. If the Vikings play on Monday night or Sunday night or Thursday night, I'll watch the whole thing. Right. It's part of the gig, right? Yeah. But like last night, I turned it off at halftime.
Oh,
right?
You missed a hell of a game. Yeah.
That also is because like
you got to get sleep.
I got up at 5:15 yesterday morning to get ready and do all the stuff.
You got another early day yesterday.
And then I don't know. I probably go to bed about 8. Like 8 o'clock, 7:30 sometimes.
Can you do that in the summertime, even when it's light out? Yeah, you can just shut her down.
Can't. The issue though is, and like one of the cool things, hockey can sleep in. Like I've called him before. I'll be like, "Hey, let's go do something," and it'll be like 8 o'clock, and he'll call me or text me at like 11:30 and be like, "I just woke up." That's on the weekends, obviously.
Right.
I can't sleep in. I never have been able to. I will probably get up even when my family's gone. I'll probably get up at like 5:30. The dogs will get me up. But I've always been an early riser. So like early morning radio has never been an issue. But,
But what about weekends? If you want to stay out, is it hard to turn your schedule around a little bit?
I rarely go out at night. Even like, I eat the early bird special because like I will. You're
like a 7-year-old man like me.
100%. Yeah, I will. Like my wife is a blessing for many reasons, but like she's totally fine if I'm like, hey, should we have dinner at 4?
Right.
Like we will make dinner at 4.
That's funny.
So then we can watch, PTI.
Watch your show. Yeah, whatever you want to watch.
Right. So like I've always been an early riser, but I've just never had a problem getting up early.
I don't want to conclude this. Thanks for this time today as well. Without one of our guys that I know was very, very important in your life and your career, the one and only Dark Star. And I want to mention his name because he was a loss for all of us. I got a chance to work with Dark at CCO Radio, and then of course we crossed paths at the Fan for a while as well. But one of the most unique individuals, any of us. And how did you guys connect with each other?
So Corey Cove was doing the sludge-a-thon that he used to do for the Lupus Foundation.
Right.
And I would always pick the like midnight to 6 a.m. or midnight to the 12-hour shift.
Sure.
Because it was always when the weirdest people would come on. And it was always a time where like there weren't people that would come in. So it gave me like the chops to like, I would actually conversate with Corey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where he would lean on me and like, it was just fun. Like that was a big break in my career. But I remember Dark Star came in at 5 a.m. He had a tea time at Hillcrest at 6:30. So he came in at 5 a.m. He sat down across from Corey, and I'm behind where Hawk sits in the producer area. And we were at the point where like there were like a minute and a half breaks, and Corey would be like, "Hey, find something that's 2 or 3 minutes so I can catch my breath and like whatever." So I played this bit from the TV show The Trailer Park Boys, and immediately I'll never forget. Dark Star turned around and looked at me and was like, pointed at his headset, and he's like, "Trailer Park Boys," and I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Do you watch that show?" I'm like, "All the time," and he's like, "I love that show." And so we kind of hit it off that way. And then like he got my phone number, I think, from Corey, and he would call me all the time. And half the time he'd call me and he'd go, "Paulie," and I'd go, "What's up, Dark? Hey, let me call you back." And then he'd just hang up, and I'd be like,
"That's so dark.
You called me." And then he would call me all the time.
I'll get back to you.
He'd be like, "Hey, Paulie, can you make it to the Twins game?" I'm like, "It's 2:00. The game started at 1:00." And he'd be like, "Hey, there's a valet spot for you at the Champions Club. Come down."
Isn't that the truth?
And it would be, and then he just treated me like a normal person. And he treated me like, he loved my bit. He loved that, like the goofiness of who I was. And it was the day he died was one of the worst days of my life. And it was just, it caught me off guard. It caught a lot of people off guard. And I'm indebted to him forever. He was awesome. And I owe Bob Hagan a huge thank you because I didn't want to go to the funeral, the one at Interlock. And I just didn't want to go.
Sure.
And to this day, I went, but to this day, I regret not going to the estate sale he had.
Oh, I didn't go either, but I know it was quite...
We actually went and saw the Trailer Park Boys.
Oh.
They were doing a live show, and he walked up to the guy that was taking, you could pay money to see him backstage. And it was $100. He hands the guy $500 and he says, me and Paul are going first.
Whoa.
And it was like, we got a picture that they signed, and he got our 2 tickets framed that he had up in his apartment. I wish I owned that, but it was just, he was outstanding. And there were so many great moments where like, he had all these ideas that we were going to like have Bob Knight on my Saturdays with Sauce show. And he would come on and he would pimp JD Hoyts, and then he would take off. And it was a relationship that I wish I still had. He was always on my side. He always had my back, and he would come and do the State Fair show with me. And I love Dark Star. I miss him every day.
You should have seen him and Sid Hartman go at it once.
Well,
you probably did.
I mean, were you at the Star, the thing in Interlaken?
No, I was not.
So you were probably on TV. Star
I probably was.
So Dark Star passes away. We're at this funeral, and you can laugh, of course. And Sid Hartman,
not laughing at the funeral.
No.
Sid, it's
but
Sid.
no, you know what? I've told you the story. Sid Hartman is in the back of the row going, that motherfucker's not dead. And I'm like, what? And you see Chad Hartman turn around and go, Dad. And he goes, that fucker owes me money. And I'm like, Sid, like, you know, Royce's giving this heartfelt, emotional goodbye to his friend, and Sid's in the back.
Oh, listen,
motherfucker! It's like, Sid, it's a funeral.
I was, I can almost equal that story because I sat next to Sid at Carl Pollad's funeral at the Basilica.
I can't even imagine.
And Harvey McKay, one of his arch nemesis, came in late.
Yeah,
and he was walking way up to the second row. I can only imagine. Sid's sitting next to me and very loudly goes, look at that a-hole. He's wanting to make sure he comes. Everybody can see him. Oh, well, no, you're here, Harvey. And
it's loud. It's
loud,
not quiet.
And then there was a parade of, listen, I don't go to the Basilica. I'm a nice Jewish kid from St. Louis Park. But they had a parade of cardinals, priests, whatever it might be, a long line of them. I'm sitting next to Dave Lee, and Sid's going, look at all those guys. They're all trying to get their hands in Carl's pocket, even though he's passed. Sid, you're in a church right now. You're at a funeral service.
Sid is at Dark Stars. Dark Star got cremated, and the cremation thing is on the desk in Interlaken. And Sid is the urn, yes. And Sid is yelling that Dark Star faked his death to get out of owing Sid Hartman money. He's like, he owes me money. And then I love Sid and I love Chad. I love Chad. But then the first sports show back, there's dark seat. Nobody's in it.
Right.
It was an emotional bit. And at the very end, Mike Mack says this wonderful goodbye to Dark Star. And Sid thinks the show's over, and he goes, you think we can keep those clients? We can keep that money? And
God.
Mike Max, bless his soul, goes, Sid, another time.
Another time. Yeah.
It's just but that show was the best. Though Royce, all those guys, and I've gotten to know Royce really, really well.
Yeah, Royce is one of a kind.
He's the best. Yeah.
And that Sid backed into Dark's car at the Champions Club. Then left the area. And Dark gave him a bill for damage for his car.
They were fighting in the press box.
Oh yeah.
Dark and I went to the game. They're yelling at each other.
Oh, they did.
I didn't hit that fucking car.
He goes, here's the bill for it, Sid.
Yeah, and then he's like, it's on video, Sid. He's like, I didn't back into it.
Well, I can tell you Sid's stories of being I could go hot air ballooning over the Aztec mountains or whatever, and I'd rather do that than be in a car with Sid Hartman driving. It was that dangerous. But anyway, we could go on and on. Sauce, this has been a blast. Before you go, you got to give me one. Yeah, Rosie.
Yeah, Rosie.
There it is. The great Paul Meat Sauce Lambert. Thanks, my friend. Love you.
Love you, brother. Thank you. That was outstanding.